See what this leak really has to do. If this is the case, I think this is probably the earliest leak that we've ever had. Most of the time, like even Wrath of the Lich King happened pretty late after the game came out, or pretty close, sorry, to whenever the BlizzCon happened. Okay, here we go.
Well, we're almost a year into Battle for Azeroth. It's been a pretty eventful one, to say the least. It's been one that's left people with many questions regarding the direction of World of Warcraft and Blizzard. When will the patches come out? What will they contain? What will the next expansion be? And what is the crack with Blizzard's upcoming product slate?
All right, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's what we're wondering.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So, the dust has settled on the launch of 8.2, and I think that means we're in a great position to talk about what the future is going to hold for us as WoW players and also people who are interested in Blizzard. So, we're going to cover the next year of Blizz, what's going to happen with Warcraft, and what's going to happen with the company's other games and IPs. One thing's for certain, it's going to be a pretty wild time, with Legion taking WoW's lore to, I guess, sort of anime places, and
yeah, it's about right.
Doing what BFA has done so far. Even for World of Warcraft itself, we're very soon going to see what will dictate the next few years of the game and really the direction of the franchise. So there's a lot to get into. Sadly though, literally scrying into the future isn't possible, but today you will learn how to bend the future to your will through the power of Skillshare, today's sponsor, who are giving you 2 months of their already affordable $10 per month service for absolutely free if you click my link. So how are we going to bend time to our will? Well, by being a master of productivity through Productivity Masterclass by popular YouTuber Thomas Frank. It is the single best course on the topic, leaving you with an actionable plan of how to tackle tomorrow. And hey, if you heard our last Skillshare slot, then you'd already
I'm going to invest in this right now.
To go along
good idea.
with your shiny new plan. Skillshare are an online learning community with over 30,000 courses, and you can get that tasty 2-month free trial using my link down below. Just think about it. You can learn a lot in 60 days. So, check them out. A big thank you to Skillshare for supporting this channel, and let's get into the video. Okay, first up, the BlizzCon 2018 that actually happened is pretty darn different from the one that was actually planned at one point.
Yeah.
And while Blizzard were somehow surprised by the backlash that they received for only having a mobile game as the major announcement, many things do point towards that not being their original plan. And it's really worth covering that because it impacts our next year's predictions. Now,
just imagine being the people at Blizzard, and as soon as you hear that, well, yeah, we're not going to announce Diablo 4, but we're going to announce the phone game, guys, so get hype. Let's get ready and do this. It's going to be great.
Based on Kotaku's reporting and my own sources, Diablo 4 was part of the plan for BlizzCon 2018 until relatively late in the day. That much is pretty clear given the reporting on the subject, I believe. And then also there's the case of Overwatch 2, a PvE game that I hear at one point was supposed to be a 2018 announcement, but was pushed back a good bit earlier on. Supposedly, it was being held back in terms of development by dev time being slurped up by another action shooter project. Well,
I mean, they've spent a long time like trying to develop the whole world of Overwatch and, you know, having all this other shit involved with Overwatch. So it's not a big surprise that Blizzard probably will do something with Overwatch sooner than later that's going to be more large scale. If that's like an Overwatch MMO, that'd be fucking cool. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm not particularly excited for it. I just hope that maybe it'll happen and, you know, hopefully it'll be good. I don't really care a whole lot.
We recently, of course, heard from Jason Schreier's
refurbished
reporting
Titan. Exactly.
of the cancelled StarCraft shooter, with its team moving over to more surefire projects. Indeed, apparently a mobile game was also cancelled for the same reason. And all of this points towards Overwatch 2 development progress increasing in speed because the project would be getting more development resources. So to me, it's pretty clear why BlizzCon 2018 went south. But from that, we can infer what Blizzard are doing, and indeed, it's what a lot of the corporate end of Activision Blizzard has said they're doing. They're doubling down on their more solid bet games with a focus on actually shipping product. Now, as that was happening, World of Warcraft continued to struggle as Battle for Azeroth's problems revealed themselves to players. But fast forward to the current day, over half a year past that point, and patch 8.2 has just released. With Ashara's defeat, Blizzard have teased the next big enemy.
Like, so BFA, last BlizzCon, like, BFA was already out at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think with that being the case, like, it was like the worst point for it to happen, because at that point, like, everything bad about BFA was already in plain sight. So people were already talking about how bad the expansion was, and then they finally come out and they announce a few bullshit things for the expansion, and they announce a phone game, and they're re-releasing Warcraft 3. It was just absolutely, it was the worst timing, and like everything kind of lined up to just be fucking awful.
In a cinematic that did just stop just short of giving us a full patch 8.3 reveal. And over the last 2 years, WoW has been teasing a hell of a lot more. The light having
the perfect
an evil
storm.
side, Void having a good side, the interplay between life and death in the Warcraft universe, and then more recently, the larger developments with the Dragon lore. So with the raid cleared, that's it for patch 8.2 until the rest of the story happens as people move through their Heart of Azeroth progression, and really that means it's time to predict the future. Legion
here we go.
put Gamescom on the radar as a convention for WoW fans because it was announced, but Blizzard have announced that they will not have a major presence at Gamescom this year.
That's whenever
They'll
they
be there
announced
for
Legion.
game dev reasons, so it's a bit sad that Blizz won't be there and I won't get to see their big cool stall, but that does mean that we won't hear anything major from the company till next BlizzCon. But that does not mean that World of Warcraft will be quiet. Indeed, far from it. Okay, here's
They've got to do
some dates for you.
8.3.
Patch 8.1.5 was released on the 12th of March 2019, with 8.2 being revealed through a dev stream on the 11th of April, and it hit...
I think that they have to do 8.3 before BlizzCon. Like, one way or another, they has to happen, because they have to release the new raid.
That's way too
No,
soon.
I know that, but they have to release the new raid, and that way players know what the fuck happens in the new expansion. Because, like, do you want it to be like at BFA, where it just seemed like if, like, you didn't even know how Legion ended? How it's like announcing. It's like announcing. Go ahead.
Its own tier, right? Sorry, but this is I mean, this is supposed to be like, if it had a tier, it would be its own tier, right? How long do tiers usually last? They don't last like fucking, what, 3 or 4 months? When is BlizzCon? Like November 20s? I don't know.
I don't know. It's on like, so BlizzCon's in like 4 months.
Oh.
About 3 months, actually. Yeah, 3 months for a raid tier does seem really, really short. I mean,
yeah, that's like fucking fast.
Yeah, now that you're saying it, that is really, really short. But like,
so how would you reconcile that then?
I don't know, because like if the leaks are right, then Sylvanas plays a really big role in the Shadowlands, and if they don't explain the role that she plays in the Shadowlands, that's a huge plot point that they don't even talk about with the expansion. So are they going to do the same thing they did with BFA and Legion, where they just don't explain what happens at the end and players just figure it out? I think it's almost like them announcing. It's like, imagine if they announced like, I don't know how good of an example this would be, but like, imagine if they announced like Avengers Endgame, like before people saw Infinity War. I think it would kind of like remove a little bit of the hype and like the excitement for like finishing the current expansion.
I mean, I don't know anything about Cape shit, but I do know that this is an expansion BlizzCon, right? So they have to announce, they have to, going by the formula, right?
Well, they did that. Wait, no, they didn't. What do you mean? What do you mean by they announced it? Well, they announced that they're making another Avengers movie. Like, everybody knows that they're announcing an expansion, but they didn't announce what the plot was going to be or anything like that. That's completely different. That's what I'm talking about.
But what if, I mean, they could just use BlizzCon as an explanation of or a reveal of the patch. They don't have to, like, I don't know.
So they would reveal the patch and then the new expansion?
Maybe, yeah. I have no idea, but I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't see 8.3 releasing that quickly. That's 3 or 4 months. That's way too fast. That's like faster than you in bed.
Pretty fast. Okay, let's go.
PTR on the 16th of April. So, put simply, PTR kicked off a month after the 8.1.5 release for 8.2. Now, applying those timelines to our current situation, and we'll have patch 8.2.5 hitting the PTR about the end of July, maybe very early August.
Right.
Now, by that stage, the World First race will be over, and the most active players, they'll have their Pathfinder, and basically they'll have completed most of the 8.2 content.
They'll be done with the content.
It'll be a fantastic time for Blizzard to whet people's appetite and release a bit more info for the game. So yes, that means our next major news milestone is just around the corner.
Okay.
Now, 825 is going to be, I believe, quite large, as I covered in last week's video. Given the hanging plot threads of the Horde Rebellion and Azoth, it's going to have to set up a lot of things, it's going to have to resolve the more immediate things, and also just give us some hints for the more far-flung plot lines. So it could be a resolution of the faction conflict and a setup of the actual battle for Azeroth, us versus N'Zoth. It could be teasing the Dragon Isles. It could be revealing them as an 8-3 zone. Either way, these plot threads...
I hope if they do the Dragon Isles that it's an entire expansion theme, right? It's not just like a end of expansion zone. Like, I feel like the Dragon Isles have been something that people have wanted ever since Vanilla WoW. And I want it to be fucking badass. I want them to spend as much time on it as they spend on new content for an expansion. That's my opinion on it.
Are likely to all receive attention, especially the faction rebellion. This, after all, will be the patch that sets up the patch that will prompt the next expansion, and it will reveal lore that essentially will define the next few years of the game moving forward. So with that hitting PTR in the next 3 weeks and nothing happening at Gamescom, what's next for Blizz? Well, presumably the release of patch 8.2.5. Now, 8.1 launched on December 11th, while 8.1.5 launched on March 12th. So if 8.2.5 is following the Legion timings of patches, it'll launch about the 10th of September, but if it's following BFA timings, maybe more late September or very early October. Now, its war campaign, of course, will see Thalasra and Lorthamar probably join up with Bane, Thrall, and Sarfang. We'll probably see Vol'jin's Spirit return. We'll maybe get a bit more of our good friend Bon Samdi.
Oh,
it
boy.
will likely cover the teased plotline.
The Jamaican Lich King. Like, I'm sorry, but I like Bon Swambi, but he's basically the Jamaican Lich King. Like, I don't know. It just seems a little bit ridiculous to me. Like, patch 8.3, I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm not that excited to do Siege of Orgrimmar again.
Oh,
I'm just not.
What about this?
Well, go ahead.
What do you think about? I mean, they brought Vol'jin back, right? And they didn't finish his. They didn't finish his storyline, right? So he's got to play a part in this too. And he's been dead for a long time, so he probably knows all the good shit about the Shadowlands and all that fucking bullshit, right? So he could play a part in it just like Sylvanas could, and that could be revealed in 8.3 as well. Right?
That is a big true. That is a big true. Okay. All right. I'll go with that. You haven't done the Tauren Heritage Armor. Well, let me go the rest of this.
Originally of Thrall traveling around with Vol'jin's ashes. Of course, that didn't happen in 8.0, and just generally, they'll need to follow up on the Vol'jin plotline because that has lingered for a little while. Date-wise, I think this is all going to go down a month before BlizzCon. Even if Blizzard do a little content gating, chances are it'll all be out before the con, leaving us quite clear to discuss the future of World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Alright, so BlizzCon then. BlizzCon 2019 takes place on Friday the 1st of November, and it's going to be one of the largest ones yet. And look, Blizz have had a rough year. Stagnant projects, slow development, morale destroying, layoffs, cancelled projects.
Not good.
That's all off the back of, well, 2018 being pretty rough. They had a PR thrashing. BlizzCon 2019 is their big chance to turn this boat around, and I think they're going to go all out.
I feel like, if they don't have something that's just going to completely just blow people's dicks off at this BlizzCon, people are going to be kind of like, okay, like, what's going on here? This is the Blizzard Redemption. This is the stage is set for the Blizzard Redemption arc. If they come out and they say, listen, here's the new expansion, it's fucking badass. Here's Diablo 4, it's good. Here's fucking like Overwatch 2 like FPS MMO, surprise motherfucker, right? I mean, like, these types of things would, like, that's exactly what everybody wants. Everybody wants to see all three of those things this BlizzCon. Like, I have very, very high expectations. I'll say that for sure. I have very high expectations. Go ahead.
I'd just let them. I'd be happy with Diablo 2, like updated.
An updated version of Diablo 2?
Yeah, dude, that was a fun game.
It was a fun game, but I want a new game. Like, I don't need a new version of an old game. You just go play the old game.
I'll take a D2 remaster.
I don't know why you don't have both. I mean, like, a remaster shouldn't take the place of a new game. I think they should do both of them, if anything. I mean, there's no reason not to.
You're right, but this is Blizzard, right? So they're remastering all their old games because they can't come up with any good new shit.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I'll take a D2.
Yeah. Oh, well, classic WoW, I think it's kind of the same thing, right? It's like if you were to ask a lot of like the current WoW players and the people that were like invested in the game, what would they want? Would they want a new expansion or would they want classic WoW? I think most people would probably want a new expansion that's as good as classic WoW. They don't want to play the same game over again. They want to play a game that's as good as the game used to be. That's what I think it really is. And so it's not, that's not contradictory at all. True. Yeah, people don't want classic WoW again. They do, right? But they don't, what they really want more than that is a game that makes them feel the same way that classic WoW used to make them feel. And you can't do that by re-releasing the same thing. You have to do something new, something to give people that sense of wonder, amazement. They don't have no fucking idea what's happening. Give them a new world, a new thing to explore, etc. That's what players really want. Not just classic WoW. Classic WoW is going to be great, but it's kind of like it's a symptom and not necessarily the disease, if that makes sense. I don't know if it really how good of an analogy that is, but it's much deeper than that.
Is confirmed. Of course, the announcements have not happened, but if Diablo 4 was planned for BlizzCon 2018 and
Yes.
Overwatch 2 at one point was planned for BlizzCon 2018, let's be real, there's a good chance we'll see both be announced. At the very least, one of them will be, and if there is to be one, it would be Diablo 4. It's
I
harder
fucking
to tell
hope
with
so.
Overwatch 2 because
Holy
we do know
shit.
less about that project, although it's fairly possible that it could be mentioned. So, potentially both, definitely one. But what about World of Warcraft? Well, I think that's where things get a bit more interesting because of the dates. World of Warcraft expansions tend to be announced 2 years apart, like clockwork, but something has happened this time that's not happened in quite a while. It seems like the next expansion will be revealed before we've got our hands on the current expansion's final patch. Pretty wild, a bit awkward, isn't it? But there's not much else that Blizz can do because the next viable announcement date would be what, Gamescom 2020? Now the thing is, Legion released August 16, BFA released August 18. Their plan seems to be to just have an expansion every 2 years, and
I'm fine with that, right? I'm okay with them doing expansions more often, a little bit, like every 2 years is okay. You know, if Legion had been a little bit longer, that would have been fine, but that's more because I liked Legion more than a lot of the other expansions. I don't really know. I mean, like, it would be okay if they did that and they just kept releasing new ones, but I do think they should conclude the story before they announce the next expansion, because I think that it takes people's mind off of the current story, and that's not really good for the game, I don't think.
Have decently, spread out patch coverage during the expansions. Now, taking all of this into account and the fact that they will need a robust beta testing period, and I think we are locked into a BlizzCon announcement this year.
They have to announce it at BlizzCon.
Now, this is not the first time a situation like this has happened. Far from it. If you look back,
like, people are coming back for 8.2. Like, whenever I go into, like Nazjatar or Mechagon or something, the zones are always full. Like, there's tons of people in the zones. A lot of people are playing 8.2, but they're not really going to get those people coming back to the game unless they announce an expansion. If they announce an expansion, people will come back and play BFA because they're looking forward to the next expansion. So even if Blizzard, like, they have to announce an expansion of BlizzCon, like, one way or another. I would be amazed if they didn't.
Back into the past, Cataclysm was announced before patch 3.3 released.
Yep.
Mists of Pandaria was announced before patch 4.3 was released. So it doesn't seem too crazy that WoW's next expansion will be unveiled before 8.3 is released.
I didn't even know
given
that.
the likely timings of patch 8.2.5 though, one has to wonder, when will 8.3 be announced? Now that really is the big question. Will we have a developer announcement stream like what we got for 8.2, maybe a week or 2 or 3 before BlizzCon, and then have BlizzCon be focusing on the new expansion? That could make some sense, but there might be a bit of a problem here. The next expansion is going to be seen to be moving away from the problems of Battle for Azeroth. Now that might be counter to, say, the marketing of patch 8.3, which still will be Battle for Azeroth. Like 8.2, I think it will be Battle for Azeroth, but with a lot of really good improvements, but it still will be BFA. So that marketing might be a bit awkward for Blizzard, but I'm not really sure what else they can do, and generally I imagine they just want as much WoW hype as possible, and if people are hyped for 9.0, they'll probably try 8.3.
There it is. See, Bellular said the exact same fucking thing that I'm saying. Because it's, you know why he's saying that? Because it's true. Like, as soon as they announce BFA, tons of people came back to Legion because they were thinking to themselves, oh shit, new expansion's coming out. I better play everything in the current expansion before they take it out of the game. So people were getting their Mage Tower appearances. People were getting ahead of the curve. They were getting the mount. You know, they were getting the Violet Spellwing, whatever the fuck. This is exactly the way that it works. And if Blizzard announces an expansion, it will help BFA because people will come back and play BFA in anticipation for the next expansion. The only issue is that if the storyline of BFA leads into the next expansion, it's going to be a bit of an awkward retelling. Like, for example, imagine if they announced like Warlords of Draenor and they played the cinematic and it had Garrosh in the cinematic before you knew what was going to happen at the end of Siege of Orgrimmar, you're going to assume that Garrosh doesn't die, and then it just kind of removes a little bit of the suspense and storytelling, right? And so I don't know exactly how they're going to handle that. They could just kind of keep Sylvanas out of the storyline if she does end up being part of the Shadowlands expansion, if that's even what's going to happen.
Now, this is especially challenging for Blizz because of how WoW's storytelling is very different these days. You see, Deathwing and Arthas were disconnected.
Yes.
Deathwing and Pandas, disconnected.
Yes.
But in modern WoW, the expansions flow into each other a lot more directly. The end of WoD led us straight into Legion, the end of Legion straight into BFA. So it could be that knowing the next expansion would spoil elements of the patch 8.3 storyline.
I don't think that Legion and BFA are completely unrelated. Like, there is simply one event that caused them to get connected, which is the sword, like in the Earth. But you can explain, like, the whole storyline of BFA, almost the whole storyline of BFA, without any context of Legion, and it's going to make just as much sense. The big fucking sword. Yeah, one big event. You're right. So you just don't talk about that event. You still talk about Gahun. You still talk about, having the Zandalari and the Kultirans be involved. You don't need to have the Legion events be a catalyst for those things to occur. You can talk about Queen Ashara being involved. People have wanted that forever. And there's not necessarily a guaranteed Tidestone stolen. Well, you don't have to say that she stole the Tidestone. That's not the only way that Queen Ashara could exist in the storyline. So, I mean, I don't see that being an issue. With BFA and Legion, I feel like the stories were pretty disconnected. Minus basically the sword leading us into events that caused the events of BFA. And so you could announce BFA before Legion, and there was no real confusion.
Now, you might be wondering, why is this predicament arose? Well, as I covered in a video a while back, in terms of relative timings, patch 8.2 is closer to the timing of Legion 7.3. I mean, yeah, it's a bit wild, but Blizz are months behind schedule. Now, in order to get a better handle of this, let's just work out a likely 8.3 release. So, assuming Legion timings of 77 days and a late September 8.2.5 release, we're looking at like December 10th release date, which is almost the same, oddly enough, as patch 8.1, and say, for a direct comparison, Cataclysm's 8.3 or Wrath's 3.3. Ultimately, there's no two ways about it. Blizzard are going to have to spoil a little bit of patch 8.3 in order to reveal the next expansion. Although it is worth noting that by the time BlizzCon rolls around, chances are 8.3 will be there on the PTR. It will be data mined. A lot of a lot of the info will be out.
That's true.
So the marketing messages might be a bit confusing, but I think
it's the same as people found out about Ashara not dying. Like, we looked at the her death animation and she wasn't dead. Everybody was like, yeah, she's not dead. And so whenever the raid came out and she didn't die, people were like, wow, what a surprise. We already knew this was going to happen. For anybody who cared.
One thing is for certain, I'll be pretty busy. It'll be a hectic time for WoW content creation, and that probably means a lot of people will have a lot of things to talk about, and World of Warcraft as a general interest topic will probably be at a peak. In terms of sidestepping the awkwardness, maybe Blizzard could have it so the next expansion doesn't directly follow on from Battle for Azeroth. Maybe Battle for Azeroth is setting up the 10.0 looming threat, and maybe 9.0 is very much us doing something else. To be honest, I wouldn't mind a bit of a fresh break, but yes, a expansion reveal at BlizzCon, plus a big tease of 8.3, which I think will likely come out a month after BlizzCon, and Blizzard probably starting Season 4 of Battle for Azeroth after the holidays, so in 2020. I think Blizzard will likely want the next expansion to launch around August 2020, but it could be bumped a month or two because of their development issues. Now, combine that with how...
That's kind of crazy for me to think that, like, in a year from now, we're going to be almost about to play the next expansion. Because it's almost August, and, like, a year from now, like, we'd have the new fucking expansion? Holy shit. Like... 1 year left of BFA. I genuinely think that if Blizzard tones down some of the dumb shit that they've been doing, like with Titan Forging, with having LFR gear replace previous tiers, etc., if they just remove a few things like that, I think the game would actually not be shit. I don't think it's shit now, but it's not very rewarding. It's not good. So we'll see what they're going to do with this next expansion. But there are things that they could do to make the game actually good. It's shit now, class design. Well, I mean, that will get better over time. The reason why class design is bad is because classes are designed from a reductive standpoint. So you're removing things from the classes and deciding which things stay. So the classes are basically being redesigned from a standpoint that's going to be fundamentally like less abilities and everything like that than we originally had in Legion. So it makes sense that people won't like class design. It's the same reason why people didn't like it in WoD, and then whenever Legion came out, it was great because Legion built off of WoD, whereas WoD was reductive from Mists of Pandaria. So I fully expect the next expansion's class design to be completely fine because they're actually going to be adding new abilities rather than just taking them away.
They seemingly are aware that BFA beta really bit them in the ass, and I think they're going to be wanting to do a robust beta testing process, so they'll want that really as early into 2020 as they can possibly do it. Now, they may do an 8.3.5 patch, but I do imagine it will be quite small, meaning that the live version of World of Warcraft will be left in its 8.3 state for quite a while. Although, in fairness, a January to August wait that also has, a pre-patch and all of that stuff, well, that would be a shorter final patch to next expansion gap than really any time in recent memory. It actually could be that the initial patch delays of Battle for Azeroth will have ended up giving us a more evenly spaced out expansion. So there you go, that's the next year of World of Warcraft. If Blizzard managed to create a more evenly spread out patch cycle, then between that, the existence of Classic and the 9.0 beta, World of Warcraft as a just topic for people to be interested in as, where stuff's happening, it's not going to experience much of a lull. Certainly a smaller lull than Mists of Pandaria to Warlord to Draenor transition, which, I mean, man, doing content for that was a real slog.
14 fucking months we spent in that goddamn Siege of Orgrimmar. Holy fuck, man. It was so bad.
I loved it. I loved it.
No, come on, dude.
Yeah, dude. You're just saying this because you hated MoP overall.
No, I had BIS gear, dude. I had full Mythic Warforged gear. How can you say that?
Because you didn't like the expansion. If you
I
don't
didn't
like the
give a
expansion, you're
fuck.
not gonna
I didn't like the
Siege.
theme, but I still had something to do. I mean, like, no, Mists of Pandaria, at the end of Mists of Pandaria, there's tons of shit to do. It was like...
It was fun.
It was too long, man. Give me a fucking break. Like, Throne of Thunder shouldn't have ended so quick, and neither should have Tier 14. They should have spaced those out more, and then have Siege of Orgrimmar last for a appropriate amount of time, which is not more than a year. Like, do you really think that... Did they cut Throne of Thunder short?
Yeah.
Yes. Did they cut Tier 14 short?
Which one was that?
Shaw of Fear, Mogushan Vaults, Heart of Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cut it short. Like, they shouldn't have done that. That was a fucking mistake. Like, all they needed to do, 14 months and no new content. Yeah, they added a new PvP season. That's how bad it was. They added 2 PvP seasons inside of that, and they tried to make people think that they were, still moving forward. Especially Tier 14 was cut short. Yeah, we barely got cutting edge that tier. It was fucking hard. And there were 2 raids for Tier 14. Actually, Samurai Jake, there were 3. Mogushan Vaults, A Heart of Fear, and Terrace of the Eternal Spring. But, doesn't matter. The point that I'm making is that I do hope that... I think that the last raid tier in an expansion should last the longest, though. McConnell, you're right about that. Because that's whenever all of the content is relevant. So people are going to come back. They're going to have tons of things to do. That's whenever generally class design for the expansion is at its best. That's whenever gearing is at its best. That's whenever players are the most OP. And so I do think in terms of the blocks of time, the biggest block of time should be the last patch.
Okay. But there you go. I think it's going to be an action-packed year. Now, there is one assumption that I'm making here, that WoW Classic will not impact the timings of Live, because of course it is true they're made by separate teams.
Yep.
But it's also possible that Blizzard will use the phases of Classic to buy a little bit more time for the Live development team, and that could slow things down a little bit. As for the other things, well, for Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, I expect them to come out anywhere between 9 months and 2 years after their announcements. We do know that Blizzard feel burned in the past by by announcing projects too early, so I think more than ever we're going to hear about these two games relatively close to their launch dates when a lot of their just development is kind of locked in and done. Diablo 4's first incarnation died in 2016, and that does mean that its second version will have been in development for nearly 3 years now, making a 2020, maybe a late 2020 release window seem a little bit more feasible. Maybe Overwatch 2 will be like 2021 or something like that. But anyway, there you go. I think that's what's going to happen with the next year of Blizzard Entertainment. I think it's going to be an interesting time, especially seeing how they deal with this next expansion reveal and the design intent that will be driving it. So there you go. I really enjoyed making this video. I just doing these hypotheticals, you know, getting the calendar out, working out the relative dates. That's all a lot of fun to me. So I'd love to hear, what are you looking forward to in Blizzard's future lineup? What are you concerned about? What do you think they're going to do? And yeah, do you think I'm on the money here, or do you think I am totally wrong? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video. And with that, I will see you next time.
Bye!
Okay, my Overwatch hype is about a 3 out of 10. My Diablo hype is a 7 out of 10, and my WoW hype is a 9 out of 10. That's basically the way that I'm looking at things. Somewhere around there, link the video. Yeah, there's the video. You guys can take a look at it. It's right there. Let me scroll all the way down here. 9 out of 10. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. But yeah, that's the other issue, is that like Diablo is it's an ARPG, and like, how are they going to compete with Path of Exile? I mean, really, like, how are they going to compete with Path of Exile? Like, Path of Exile, like, they have a much smaller development team, so they're more dynamic with making changes. The game has so much more content in it now because it's been developed for years. And it's like, all right, let me see. We'll read the comments and we'll see what people have to say. One thing's for sure, I'll be very busy. He hungers. Anime places hentai to death. Loving Bellular's use of words lately. Personally, I don't care if there's a big content drought, as long as we end up with what's fun, practical, and well tested. And that's really what matters, right? Like, I'm okay with waiting for a long time for a good expansion. Like, if Blizzard told me they were like, that Blizzcon 2019 comes out, and they're like, listen, man, it's going to take us an extra year to make this expansion, but it's going to be as good as Burning Crusade. And like, just assume that's true, right? Let's just assume that's true. I would wait. I'd wait. Who wouldn't? Like, fuck yeah, I would wait. Extra 10 years? Yeah, I'd wait 2 years, man. Like, hell yeah, everybody would wait. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, people want a good expansion. They don't want to just have the same shit shoveled out again and again and again. I don't think that would be good at all. Let me scroll all the way down. They want the money from us buying expansions? Yeah, but more people will pay for the expansion and buy the game and keep playing it if it's good.
Well, I mean, you can form your player base to accept whatever you give them. Even if it's shit. I mean, if you look at the COD player base, they've been eating the same shit for like a decade or longer. So it could be the same thing with the Blizzard, player base. That's
a really good point. I mean, you look at like the player base of some of these other games, like the Madden and FIFA and Call of Duty, and what are the other ones? COD community. Like, they just get the same game every year, and they pay another $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 for it. And they're like, wow, I can't believe how good the knee physics are in FIFA this year. Nobody cares about that, but these people do. It's sad, but it's true. And, I mean, it's the same with Blizzard, right? Blizzard used to always have the way that they used to have the reputation of bringing out really, really good games. And they delayed Burning Crusade because they thought that it wasn't ready. They delayed it past Christmas even, because it came out on, I think, January 7th. And it was originally going to come out in 2006, and it didn't. And then they delayed Diablo 3 a number of times. They delayed Overwatch. They canceled Titan because they didn't think it was good enough, etc. So the Blizzard attitude of only releasing like the highest quality products has always been something I think everybody kind of expects to see. So whenever they saw things like WoD and, like BFA, for example, that was like very clearly untested and not ready, a lot of people got super upset about that. Days of Blizzard delays are way gone. Well, I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, there's plenty of things that they delayed and have gotten rid of. I mean, they still do that now. I'd rather Blizzard release behind schedule better content compared to be completed well than broken. Honestly, watching Asmon and Bellular go bald helps me accept my hair going its way to the twisting nether too. At least your segues are better than Linus. Okay, Asmon, try not to maul over this video. Wait, why would I be mad? What do you mean? How the fuck am I mad? I'm not even mad. What do you mean? Meaning your Patreon was awesome, Bellular. Anyone else no longer playing but still watch Bellular regularly? So far, this is the thing, right? Is like this comment here. This is why meta videos and shit like that. Like, let me try and find something. How to do Glory of the Eternal Raider. Literally no one cares. Like, actually nobody cares. So if I look at all of this right here, it's not even here. It's like this month. Nobody has even made an achievement guide for completing any of the achievements in Glory of the Eternal Raider. That's fucking awful. Like, nobody gives a shit about being good at the game. Like, let me see how to get BIS Benthic here. $6,000 views. 11,000 views. 430. This one did get a lot of views. These two gearing guides actually these did do well. But like the best in slot Benthic gear and everything, like it's just not really that high. Overall, I would say like being good at the game and like learning how to play the game well. It's RNG, calm down. Well, it's not about it being RNG. It's like players need to know which items to go for, how to farm the pearls on alt characters, when to stop, what's an effective use of their time. If I made a video about this, people would learn something from it, right? And maybe not everybody, but I think that it would be useful. There is a video to be made about the Benthic leveling and armor sets that would be useful to many players. And it's not being made because nobody gives a shit. That's all. I didn't need to watch a video and know these things. Well, a lot of people do. But people talking about the game like this is always a lot more accessible. And so hopefully that's going to be the case. I don't know how long it's going to look up Vanilla WoW, Vanilla Warrior BS. I mean, there's like a million different versions of that, man. People would just learn how to effectively farm mounts and achievements. Yeah, they wouldn't at all. I know change is good to keep the game alive, but I feel like the direction Blizzard has taken in the game has just been uninspired and really lazy. I thoroughly enjoyed Legion after suffering through WoD and MoP to a lesser extent, but switching back to mediocre really killed my love for current WoW. Looking forward to Classic 1 month away. That's very true. It's going to be fucking amazing. That being said, I do think that the first half of the BFA lore was pretty bad, and I think the reason why the BFA lore is so bad is because nobody really gives a shit about it. Like, nobody cares about what happens in the BFA lore.
Dude.
What?
Oh my god. Dude. And as if to confirm what you're actually saying, I've got a clip here of Deep Shades. Now, Deep Shades is the world first racer, right? He's in Method, right? While he's raiding, he's literally watching her stream.
Hey, guys. Good luck. If you do an alliance run on US servers, I need a kill for actually Mythic Ashara whenever you guys get it farmed out and everything and ready to go. Because I want to get the rank 4 essence. Thanks, man. Anyway, so let's see here. What's the rest of this? No, it's true, man. Let's see. They've killed off a StarCraft game for Overwatch 2. I already hate it. Too much wishful thinking. They're clearly designing by spreadsheet. I mean, like... Do you think people are too negative about Blizzard? They're just, like, too paranoid about Blizzard?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know.
If anything, people need to open their eyes as to what Activision is doing to Blizzard, and you know how dark the company has gotten. The attitude at the company has gotten. I mean, it's just it's a shadow of the company it used to be. and Reddit refuses to open their eyes. You know, they just call everybody that thinks that a conspiratard. It's infuriating.
Well,
man.
what
It
could
really
Blizzard
is.
do? Like, let me ask you something. What could Blizzard do to bring back your faith in them?
They could make a good game.
What would define a good game? Like, what could they do in WoW? Where, like, if they did this thing and you were like, okay, wow, okay, maybe things are turning around. What would that thing be?
I don't think they can do anything for WoW. I think personally I've given up on WoW. I think